Is there a turning point for you? One turning point for you where you found, like, a lot of artists struggle, like anything, like, it's like you're working on a maths uh, problem, and you're working at it, and suddenly you hit a point and you feel like, oh, now I know how this works, or what I need to do next, or what the concept of this thing is. Was there any time in your own creative career in business where you were struggling, like a lot, and it changed for you?
Yeah, there was a really big turning point. It was more on the creative aspect of things. I felt really blocked for like a number of years, and I didn't feel like I had found my artistic voice, and I had seen other people like find their voice easily and get into top galleries and just have their art career take off, but it just wasn't like happening for me. And I knew I always wanted to be an artist, so I couldn't understand.
Welcome to the podcast, Christy. I'm very excited to have you today.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I am so grateful. And, today I have you for a very specific reason. This is generally not how, I'm looking at guests, but with you, it was a different case. With Arts to Hearts, we were following your work. And while Alison, who's also our podcast, PR coordinator, reached out for your profile, I was like, I would really love to ask Alison a lot of questions as an artist myself, but also for so many people who I know, how is she doing what she's doing? Like, specifically the business side of her business, the business side of being an artist. So I have brought you specifically so that you can tell us what's going on and how are you doing what you're doing. But before that, let's get to know you first, right?
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I've always wanted to be an artist ever since I was a kid. I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate to that, just always having like a passion for art. But I didn't always know that it was an art career option. So growing up as a child, I was told that it wasn't a good decision to become an artist. One couldn't really do that. So I went into animation instead initially because it seemed like a path where I could like be creative but still have a paycheck. And that ended up kind of leading me into becoming a full-time artist, actually, because one of the studio owners was actually the first artist that I had ever met. He was an oil painter, like showing in galleries, and it was the first time I'd ever met an artist who was
How
really
old were you
good.
when?
I was 24 at the time, and it like blew my mind to actually realize that it was an actual possibility. So pretty soon after meeting this man, Philip Craig, I sort of just dove right into it and started doing oil paintings and selling them in galleries and left my animation job. And so I always say I found my way in through the back door to becoming an artist, a fine artist.
Wonderful. So, okay. Did you always think you would be you were a creative child? Did you always imagine that way?
Definitely. Yeah, I everything like all I ever wanted for my birthday or Christmas was art supplies. All of my fun things to do involved art. So I always wanted to be an artist. And my mom had been artistic, so I grew up in an artistic family. Um, so it was definitely my passion, but I just didn't know that you could make a living off of it. And that's why I'm so excited about our call. What we're going to be talking about today is how to make a career out of it and make it, be something that we can actually do. Yeah.
But before I ask you that, did you have, like, a lot of artists say, oh, a lot of people who are creative also have this misconception, specifically before, that, oh, if I'm creative, I don't know how to run a business, or I don't know how to monetize things, or I'm not good with numbers, or like those things. Were you someone who was, since the beginning, you were, you were interested in both ends of the spectrum, or has that evolved for you?
It's evolved and really naturally. I think if we think about everything that we might have to do as artists, we might get totally overwhelmed. But if you just do it one step at a time, and you create a body of work, and then maybe you make a website, and then maybe you start sending out emails about what you're up to, and then maybe you start submitting to galleries, and once you get into a gallery, you learn how to make a consignment agreement, and so it's just one baby little step at a time, and all of a sudden you realize you're like running an entire business. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me something. Is there a turning point for you? One turning point for you where you found, like, a lot of artists struggle, like anything, like, it's like you're working on a maths uh, problem, and you're working at it, and suddenly you hit a point and you feel like, oh, now I know how this works, or what I need to do next, or what the concept of this thing is. Was there any time in your own creative career in business where you were struggling, like, and it changed for you?
Yeah, there was a really big turning point. It was more on the creative aspect of things. I felt really blocked for like a number of years, and I didn't feel like I had found my artistic voice, and I had seen other people like find their voice easily and, get into top galleries and just have their art career take off. But it just wasn't like happening for me. And I knew I always wanted to be an artist, so I couldn't understand why. So I wasn't painting, like months would go by and I like couldn't work. And I mean, honestly, years went by and I was barely working. It was like a struggle for years. And then one day I kind of got this like resolve that I was going to like figure this thing out and like find my voice. And I almost feel like it was like, some like higher power like came to me and kind of guided me. And I wrote down like a list of 5 things that I would do every day that would like I just knew as I did it that they would help me find my voice. So it's actually things that I teach in my Visionary Artist Master Program and that's written about in my upcoming book that's available for pre-order. But I'll talk about that later. But so there was like five things that I did every day. One was daily brainstorming with thumbnails, where I would just do like a little scribble practically of an idea for a painting in my sketchbook. And then the other, I also started to do brain drain writing, is what I call it. But it's basically what Julia Cameron talks about, morning pages, where you just write 3 free flowing pages. And I started to do intuitive paintings, where you just kind of follow your first gut impulse. You kind of let go of making a good painting and just, I have some YouTube videos about intuitive painting, but it's really powerful. And I started to read an article about art every day, like in Art in America or something, to kind of keep my knowledge up about what's happening in the art world. And then the most important actually was painting for 25 minutes a day. And that's what broke me out of the creative block. I started to paint every single day for just 25 minutes. And it sounds like a ridiculously small amount of time. But it actually like, it was small enough that I could like do it, because painting was almost like torture at the time. And then at the end of the day, I would sit back and realize that it was actually starting to look better, and it started to build momentum. And then with that like 5-step framework, I finally found my voice, broke out of the creative block, and yeah, that was about 10 years ago, and that leads me to where I am now. Aw, thank you. Mhm.
But tell me something. Um, I got this part, right? What happened next? When I look at you today, a lot of people have questions like, um, I am being consistent with social media, but I don't know, I'm not making progress. I'm making work regularly, but I'm not having sales. I don't have the time to start a YouTube channel, or I'm very tired of creating content. Or um, I don't think I can write a book, or like, I don't know what to teach, or I don't know how to make money as an artist, let alone create several different income streams. How let's talk about this aspect of the business.
Yeah, well, I think my main theory is just doing things in these little baby steps. Like the 25 minutes a day of painting kind of became a whole way of thinking about everything. So, in terms of like creating content, say for Instagram or YouTube, which right now I'm practically doing both at the same time. I just post a reel on both of them. You can post short content videos now on YouTube, and that kind of can get that algorithm very slowly going. It's actually a very difficult algorithm for some reason, I find. But anyways, but just these teeny little baby steps. So, and just daily, well, I post on Instagram like 3 times a week. So having specific goals, but broken down into baby little steps, so that it's like really manageable. And then, investigating like what needs to happen to really like optimize these things. So with Instagram, there's some like concrete things that we can do as artists that like will help the Instagram algorithm. And one of the things that I would really suggest to everyone is actually to take a course from this girl Dina Brodsky. She is the Instagram wizard, and she's the one who taught me everything that I know. And it was after taking her class and applying everything.
Oh wow. We've had Dina is a lovely, lovely friend, and she does something. She's on the podcast. She's been a curator.
Yes, she is absolutely amazing. And it was once I learned from her, like, exactly what we need to do, in terms of the algorithm, and following her emails, because sometimes the algorithm changes and then she'll tell us like what, so that we're kind of working efficiently, so that we can just make like a little bit of effort on a regular basis, but that it's like really focused effort. So yeah, making reels that are like have something really exciting happen in the first 1 second, keeping the reel short to like say 15 seconds or even less, 10 seconds, just like concrete things that are like proven to work and have a payoff at the end, maybe a reveal of the full painting or whatever. Yeah, and then it kind of goes the same with the other things. Like it could be overwhelming to think of all the stuff that we need to do, but if we just make, I like to have a list of like 3 things to do each day. And yeah, so like sending out an art email, like an email art update is a really useful thing to do, where have a base of people that you email, anyone who's ever been interested in your work, and just keeping them updated about your work. It's amazing how um, this act of like kind of showing people the successes you're having will actually like pull them to you. And you'll find after sending out an email art update, you might get a request for a commission or like someone interested in buying a painting. And um, yeah, those sort of things. I think there was actually quite a few questions in there. I think I've forgotten a bunch of them. Was there anything else that you had mentioned about in there that I haven't touched on?
You were saying that it was also the little steps that you took, the 25 minutes that helped you. Like, and you were also speaking about Dina Brodke's um, Instagram.
Yeah, so with the business aspect, I still apply the same thing that I apply to my creative career, where I really like to do 25 minutes a day. Well, or just baby steps, basically, of like little teeny doable increments that'll move you towards your goals. So with Instagram, I just post like 3 times a week, and it doesn't take that much effort. And I also do like research, yeah, into the best ways to make it most optimized. So I would really like suggest to everyone, actually, there's this amazing woman, Dina Brodsky, who teaches classes on Instagram, and she's like the wizard of Instagram. And I took classes from her and learned from her how to like do the best. Is that a phone?
But also something, tell me something. What about there's one thing about there's so many artists I still know who have millions of followers, but still fail to make a money making career out of it. Right? There's a whole hamster wheel of content creation. And also artists struggle with, a lot of time it feels like an unpaid job where we're constantly creating content but don't know how to monetize that. Um, what is your experience with that?
Yeah, it takes being really proactive with these things, and having multiple streams of income is really the best way to go. So for me, for example, I have like income from commissions, income from painting sales and galleries, and then like teaching classes. And what else? I'm trying to think if there's any. There's various streams within that, like of the classes. Yeah, there's different classes that I teach, and some with companies and some privately taught. And so I think as artists, having multiple streams and there's different ways to go. Some people will have like an Etsy store or will sell prints of their work. I haven't actually gone that way, but that can, be really good. There's also Patreon. So there's so many options of different streams of income that we can have. And it's good to have a few, so that when, say the painting sales go down for a little bit, you still have other sales, like, other income coming in other ways. And then, yeah, just being, like I say, really proactive. Like with the painting sales, one thing that can actually help a lot is actually to send out email art updates. So add everyone who's ever been interested in your art to your email list. And every month or 2 months, every now and then, maybe even 4 times a year, send an email to all of your people and just let them know everything that you've been up to. So if you've been like in any shows, or if you've had like won any awards or anything like that, obviously like send out that information. But even if you have no concrete news like that. You could send an email that's like, "Oh, I just finished this painting. Here's a little bit of what's it about, what it's about." Um, and I find that there's a way that by doing that, it's actually sort of sharing our successes with people. And the more it looks like we're kind of successful as an artist, the more things will come to us. So you'll find after sending out an email like that, it's like not uncommon to get someone, inquiring about a commission or interested in buying a piece of art. Um, and yeah, and then of course, teaching classes is a great way. A lot of artists like make one of their streams of income by teaching classes, and having a good social media account can really help, like, help people find you and connect with your work, and you can start to share information. Like, I do these color mixing videos on Instagram that I find to help, like, people sort of understand color, and then they can relate to the way that I teach, and then they're interested in, like, taking my classes. There's this idea out there, which is really true, that it's good to give first. So if you want to, like, yeah, sort of receive, like, in terms of making money off of classes, to give content. And we have such a good opportunity to do that with all the social media these days. Yeah, so it's good. It's so worth it for us as artists to actually put the time into the social media. I'm glad you asked about that, because it's such an opportunity for us to, like, grow opportunities actually for ourselves. Yeah.
What would you say has been, apart from, I'm not going to talk about painting sales because we'll talk about that separately. What do you think? What are the top three other revenue streams that you would recommend for artists to build a more sustainable and profitable
Totally. Well, I was
or something?
what was the last thing you said? Definitely. Yeah. Well, I think that it's like, teaching classes is a really good way to go. So you'll find that most artists, like, teach some form of classes. And I know early on I started to just even rent, like, a room, and just start to put up posters at coffee shops and stuff like that. And of course, like, email my email list. And very early on, although I had some training and stuff, so I had something to teach. But you can start to get people, interested in coming and taking a class with you. And you also actually learn a lot from teaching. Like, you learn, of course, how to teach, and you learn, it kind of helps embed your own theories into your mind. Like, I remember people always asking me, how do you mix a shadow color? And eventually I was like, that's actually a good question. I should really, like, find a good answer for this. And it helped my work get better, because now I know for sure how I would mix a shadow color, Yeah. So, and you can also, like, teach, um, like, more of an intuitive approach. If a person is, like, feels like they don't have enough skill, sometimes someone who actually has quite a bit of skill but is just starting out as an artist feels like they don't have enough skill to teach. And there's always something you could teach. Like, a person could teach more of an intuitive painting approach, or they could teach one of these drink and draw type of things. Or, there's, like, so many, they're like, there is a way that they could find something to teach. I really think so. So to organize a class and get that going is a really good income stream.
Yeah, we all have something. Sometimes you can just, also bring together people. That also brings a lot of, if you're someone who's able to facilitate community or host events or like um, do something like that. What is your number one top three recommendations if somebody wants to increase their art sales, particularly
Increase their audience.
art sales?
Oh, their art sales. I definitely actually, like, it can't be overstated how important the email art updates are. I find a lot of people that I work with are afraid to, like, send out an email. They were afraid to pester people, but people can always unsubscribe or just ignore the email. It's really not a problem. But sending out those email art updates is actually, I would say, the number one way to, like, increase your art sales. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how do you deal with managing so many things as an artist? There's something that a lot of artists struggle with, and they feel like, I do not have the time to manage YouTube, to creating content. And how do you deal with creating content? What's your outlook with that?
Yeah, I definitely think it would be overwhelming if we, like, overthink about all the things we need to do. But every single day, I just try to do a little bit on my business and a little bit on my actual art. Just a teeny little bit. Normally, I'll write down, like, three things that I want to do each day, you know, three small things, three doable things, and I just make sure to do that. And it's amazing how much momentum these things can build. Like it might feel so small, but the little things all put together end up creating like a really big impact on how much we're actually getting done. So that's really how I do it. Just these little teeny doable baby steps, but every single day, so that there's always some movement forward. Yeah.
What has been something, the particularly something that's been something that you feel challenged with or you struggle with, still do?
Well, it is hard to create like enough content sometimes, and I actually like re-share the same content quite a bit because it's like sort of a lot to have to like create new content. But I know the algorithms like would prefer that I create new content, so that's a little bit of a struggle. And for me, I've opted it like I know the algorithm also likes if we just post regularly, so it still appreciates even if I'm just reposting stuff, and that kind of makes it, you know, it kind of fills in the gap so that the algorithm doesn't start hating me, like Instagram and YouTube, I mean, and TikTok too. And yet I can still have enough time for my own creative practice and all the other things, all like the business side of art as well. Yeah.
What is that one piece of advice you would like to give for anyone who's struggling with creating income streams from their art, making money from their art, or selling their work?
Well, what I always basically tell the artists that I work with is a lot of the time, like, our fears are actually standing in our way too. So, a lot of the time, like, just taking the steps, make a list of all the things that you can do and just like do them and just know that you can get your mental check mark for having done them and sort of release the worry that, like, whatever you hope the outcome will be, like, one way or the other, even if it doesn't turn out to be what you want. Like, instead of basing success on the outcome, base success on you took the actions that you need to take, and so you know you've done your part and the rest is up to the universe. Because I find that so often there's some level of fear that's actually stopping us, especially from things like submitting to art shows or art competitions.
How has that?
You know, we'll just be so scared. Well, for me, I early on started to submit to galleries, and I always had this approach where I would just send out 10 submissions all at once and just give myself that mental check mark, like, yes, success, I did it. And then, you know, what happens is you normally get about 9 rejection letters for every 10 that you send out. So I would just like receive those rejections with glee, you know, like, check, check, check. And then one out of the 10 would be like a success. Yeah.
And okay, do you have any, a lot of time, another big part of running a business is budgeting our business. Knowing where to put money, how to manage your money, how to know how to plan my finance, even. How would you say about that?
Well, I think since it's so integrated with my life, for me, it's not, I don't necessarily think of it. It is a business, it truly is, but it also is just like my life. So I don't know. I actually don't put too much thought into that. If I'm like low on money, I'll probably spend less. But if there's not a big constraint, then I'll just, I mean, one thing I won't do is like pay for these like exhibitions that cost like $1,000 or something. Like I would never
Yeah, the vanity.
suggest to anyone the vanity galleries. Yeah. So I wouldn't suggest that. You know, normally I would only spend like $45 or $50 for an entry fee. But other than that, I don't really like have too many like limits on. I mean, I just don't go overboard, and I don't actually know. I kind of stay within the middle line for all of it. Yeah.
I feel like you're also someone who's like tuning into your rhythm as much as you can and see how it goes.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. Kind of following your intuition.
What is your mantra? You know, you do YouTube videos, you also have a great Instagram following. What is your own mantra when it comes to creating content? And what is the most comfortable a platform that you would suggest if someone's starting out and aiming to grow?
Well, right now, actually, I would probably say Instagram. I don't always follow all the changes in Instagram as well as Dina does, so Dina would be able to tell us for sure. But as far as I can tell right now, it's easier to grow with a small account on Instagram than it used to be. And it's actually making it a bit harder for some of us with larger accounts, but to grow. But I think right now it's actually a good time to be able to grow on Instagram. Yeah, TikTok, it used to be really easy to grow. I'm not so sure anymore where that's at, but Instagram is a really good one. I would say Instagram is the most important one for artists too, just in terms of it having this purpose of bringing in opportunities for ourselves, whether it's like art shows. You know, I've had art galleries reach out to me. I've had lots of commissions and painting sales, and I got like a big commission from Doritos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so many things like can come to us, and mostly from Instagram, I would say. And then the other ones, what I do right now is I just post the same reel on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, like, because why not? So you can just actually do the same content on all three and get them.
Yeah. Why not? Absolutely, why not?
Yeah, why not? I have someone who helps me post on all three, so it doesn't take me too long. Yeah,
Wait, that's an important part that we often don't speak about, is that you can bring in help, that somebody can help you
totally.
bring all of these. How's your experience been with that?
Amazing, actually. When it was actually, um, I was like realizing that I should just post the same reel on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and actually Facebook too. And then I was like, this is taking so long to just repost the same thing. Like, what I need is some teenager who can like do this for me. And my friend had a teenager who wanted to get her first job, and she is doing it for me now. And so I hired her, and I pay her, weekly rate or whatever, and she posts on all of the three other platforms. I post on Instagram and then send her the link so that she can duplicate sort of the content like in the others. And she's amazing. And the other thing is, she'll like teenagers really understand algorithms. Like they know these things, so she'll look around on TikTok and send me some really good like content that's like trending, and be like, "Oh, this could be like something you could try." And she's really good at choosing music on TikTok. Like I'm a bit too old for TikTok, so I might think it's a good song, but it might not really be what TikTok thinks is a good song, but she'll find really good music, and yeah, she's good. Yeah. Sometimes people are better than we could be at it. Like she's better at, yeah. Yeah.
I think this is an amazing insight, because a lot of times we feel like we have to do everything. There's nobody who can do this me rather than me. Versus, if you find out a way how you can keep your voice as an artist, but find someone who can multiply that for you, that could actually be a great formula.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's like ideal when we can do it. At first, it was hard for me to let go of that control since I had been doing everything myself for so long. But having hired Mackenzie for this, I realized she's definitely doing better than I even could have. So, yeah.
Oh my God, Christy, this was so fun. You were so real and true, and I really did enjoy it. But we'll keep it short and crisp. I hope a lot of people have taken some amazing insights. But can you also let me know about a few of your projects? We know your book and you have a YouTube channel, and anything else that you want to share with us, and we'd love to support you with.
Definitely. Yeah, so I just finished writing a book, well, last year, and it's available for pre order now. It'll be coming out November 5th. And before it's actually published, if people order a copy of my book, which is about $20, they'll actually also get access to a free online course on color and composition, which is at a value of $160. And people can sign up. Yeah, so it's a good discount. And so they can sign up at KristyGordonCourses.com. So it's just KristyGordon courses.com. And if you just scroll down to the book, there's a link there where you can pre-order the book and get the free access to the class. And yeah, and then I regularly teach workshops on like painting the eyes, the nose, the mouth. So you could always sign up for my email, list through KristyGordonCourses.com to get information about that. And once a year, I teach the Visionary Artist Master Program, which is such an amazing program. It's the one that walks people through the 5-step framework that helped me find my artistic voice. And it's such a powerful program. It's been so amazing to see the transformation in the people, the artists that I've worked with in their work and in their career after it. And right now, on KristyGordonCourses.com, you can sign up for the waiting list to be notified when VAMP 2025 opens. Yes.
I will make sure all the links that Christy has mentioned is mentioned in the show notes in the article on our website, and we'll attach, Christy's amazing work and links and everything. So you make sure you go to the website and you do visit and check out Christy's work and all the links. Thank you so much, Christy. It was so nice talking to you. I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so good to talk to you too.
I hope to see you soon again.
Me too. Talk to you soon. Bye.